Hello, welcome to my channel, Chris Godber, and today I want to talk about insomnia, which is a condition I've experienced and am currently experiencing. For myself primarily as a symptom of my bipolar 1 illness. So it's a very terrible affliction, really. A lot of people with insomnia also have serious depression or anxiety, mental health issues, and obviously myself with bipolar 1. I'm just basically a grade 2 below schizophrenia, which is fun, but there you go. You're dealt the cards you're dealt in life, there's not much you can really do about it. You can't change your brain. I'll probably make this a 20-minute video, I'll just say that at the start. So it's a funny philosophy, one of those videos that I do, part of a series where I just riff basically on a certain subject, in this case insomnia. And I'm just going to do this from what I know of it, what I've read about insomnia, different films maybe, fictional accounts of insomnia, and my own personal experience. So I'll start with films that just come to mind. Pi is a good one, Faith in Chaos, which I've already done a video about, in fact. Which goes much more in depth into that. That's about a sheltered mathematics genius, but who struggles to sleep, gets terrible migraines, and starts getting, I suppose you'd say, delusional, but also paranoid as well, not sleeping. The Machinist is a great film, actually, about insomnia, starring Christian Bale, for which he lost many stone, I think. He's almost like a skeleton in that film. In that film, his insomnia primarily came from guilt. So I'm not going to spoil the film, but basically there was an accident that happened that just meant that he's been struggling a lot with that. So yeah, trauma can create a certain insomnia, I think, in people. Like if they've experienced a very traumatic event, I suppose it could be aligned with PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder. And yeah, that's I think the term's comorbidity, right? I guess, I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm a mental health. I got interested in mental health, and I'm interested in psychology, and read a bit of Jung. But yeah, a lot of dry academic texts about psychiatry aren't exactly interesting beyond the people involved. I tend to because I am mentally ill, but I don't really, and I accept it as an illness, but I don't. And I'm quite cautious of romanticizing mental illness, but there has also been a lot of bad treatment of the mentally ill, definitely across history. And insomnia is probably Vincent van Gogh is an obvious example of somebody who had bouts of insomnia, and obviously manic depression, bipolar 1 probably be diagnosed as today, well, alongside epileptic. Vincent van Gogh is a great example to look at for, like I say, someone with profound insomnia. In books, I'm less familiar, to be honest. Probably the nearest I could think of immediately that comes to mind would be Chekhov and Nervous Breakdown, The Black Monk, perhaps, even though that's more about a apparition that haunts a man who's obsessed with achieving greatness and genius. Basically, the whole short story revolves around this man who's obsessed becoming a sort of higher man, I suppose. That's quite Nietzschean in some respects, even though I'm not even sure if Chekhov was aware of Nietzsche, but there's definitely that feeling in it. I actually read a book a while ago on neo-nihilism called Numismatics, and in that, I think the author, um, he's a philosopher, he talked about how Nietzsche probably suffered very badly with sleep issues and was self-medicating with, amongst other things, hashish and other drugs. So I can say, quite honestly, this is something I've done, which I've also done uh, in the uh, fairly recently. You try and just anything to get to sleep. I mean, it's like literally what 2 now. I've tried to sleep and I've failed. Uh, so that's hence why I'm doing this as well. Like the common term in the general imagination, right, is night owl as well. But that's more of a you're someone who's more comfortable with going to sleep a bit later. It doesn't mean that you don't sleep. The longest for myself that I've ever been awake without sleep has been 3 or 4 days. Now things start getting really weird at that point if you've not slept for 3 or 4 days, to say the least. Your brain naturally will start hallucinating after a certain point if you don't get any sleep. Sleep is very important to keep scheduled, especially if you have a mood or anxiety disorder, because your brain needs to switch off. It can't be running at full speed all the time. Going back to like substances for myself that I've tried to self-medicate with, obviously alcohol. I'm not particularly a heavy drinker, but I had 1 beer tonight, for example. Substances that don't help with sleeping are obviously coffee. I've been very guilty of this myself. Sometimes I like if I'm working on a project, or if I'm a developer by trade. That's always been my trade. It's been development, so coding, and often that's comes with a lot of high expectations in low time threshold, basically. So definitely drank all my lion's share of coffee in my time just to get through that. But there is a debt that has to be incurred from that, a sleep debt, basically. And yeah, that's the struggle. Weed can be alright, but actually for myself, I find that weed actually keeps you awake. It stimulates your brain too much. So for a lot of people, that sends them to sleep. For myself, unless it's something like hash or something, definitely something like skunk would keep me up for a long time. Obviously speed, that's going to keep you up for a long time, and that ultimately does mash your brain up if you take enough stimulants. I'm not a stimulant person, to be honest, when it comes to my drug history. I'm just not. I bought a book recently by Gabor Mate, which I can't remember the title of right now, but I wanted to read that because Gabor Mate is a psychologist who also has a history, I believe, of drug addiction or drug problems, substance misuse, and he is someone I've very much enjoyed listening to in terms of how to deal with those issues. So I'll go dive deeper into my own issues at the minute because that's useful, and I mean that's partially what this is about, this vlog. So okay, so I'll be completely honest here. Like I've self-harmed in the past, and it's like this started from when I was about 15 years old. I couldn't sleep so badly, and the burning in my head was so bad, the sensation, that I would literally try and knock myself out by punching myself in the head. A little bit of a history with hitting myself with objects, cutting a bit. I'm not proud of any of these things. Obviously, why would I be proud of any of it? It's painful. It's like there's all this pain. I've got all this pain inside, and I don't even know where it comes from. And that's the most annoying thing with bipolar. To be honest, it's like I've got no reason to be feeling pain. I mean, I'm angry. Obviously, there's a lot of frustration I have. Like despite being quite a talented person in a lot of respects, I'm still just always on the verge of relative poverty. Always skint, always overdrawn at the bank. Not through much fault of my own. I mean, I'm not the best at managing money in some respects, but I'm not too bad. But yeah, I just keep falling, and I'm looking at a bit of a debt spiral at the minute, which I've been trying to get out of for like 2 or 3 years to no avail, which is extremely frustrating to say the least, right? And I get it, like I've got bad habits, and that doesn't help, like smoking. Yeah, smoking as well, so it's a stimulant, but so I'm on a vape at the minute. I still have a few cigarettes left. I'm not trying not to smoke them. So if you can like avoid stimulants, and this like Baki is a stimulant. This not so much, has a little bit of nicotine in, but not loads. I mean, and nicotine, yeah, it's a stimulant. People often tend to forget that. It is a bit like a smoking coffee, right? In some respects, you are getting a quick rush of energy, and then yeah, but it's not obviously good for you in the long run, to say the least. Anyway, like in terms of like possible ways to treat, I've always found that having a nice long bath is good. It just relaxes your entire central nervous system, make it quite warm, put a lot of special bath liquids in there, I guess. Like I used deep heat recently. I had a lot of back pain about last week ago, so last week I should say. One thing you would definitely get from insomnia is a sort of weird time perception. So time just feels like it's slower or faster. But everybody experiences that. Obviously, it just becomes a lot more intense. Obviously, with insomnia, it's like a bit like you are in a vortex, as it were. It's like you're in a vortex of spiraling energy, which is hard to control because you can't really control the vortex, right? I mean, a vortex just swirls around and around and around. It's chaotic. You're getting, if you think of it in physics terms, if you're getting pulled into an infinitely dense point of gravity, then like a black hole, for example, you can't escape that. Nothing can escape that. Even light can't escape it. So, just using this metaphor, how can you as a human being in a lot of insomnia escape that pulling you under in terms of like depression, right? And that's what it does. Now this is partially a pep video to myself. Like I want to get back into a better sleep schedule. It has been okay up until quite recently. It was pretty good actually up until about a week ago. I've lost perception of time though a bit at the minute. Like I said. Anyway, one of my favourite philosophers who explored insomnia because he was a lifelong insomniac was Emil Cioran. Who I've talked about previously in some of my videos. He was a nihilistic philosopher, very pessimistic, but also brilliant, to be honest, and a brilliant writer, very lyrical prose style, wrote in multiple languages. He would sometimes just, and I also do this myself, would go on long night walks purely just to, which I've been doing myself the last few months, purely just so that he burns off some energy to sleep. Now, exercise is good for insomnia. So in fact, I might myself even go for an evening stroll because it just will help kill some energy. I mean, when I was in Scotland, even for example, I used to live up in Scotland, I would literally be walking around nearly every other night until the early hours of the morning just so I could sleep. So I'd walk, and not only at night, obviously I walked throughout the day as well. There's a lot of hills around there I went on. But the distinction I make is, I'd say, when I go on nighttime walks, it's on my own and I'm just taking in the scenery, the ambience of the night, right? When I go on to day walks, it's a more communal affair, right? It's more of a, it's like a bonding experience you do have with other people, whereas a night walk is a journey into the soul, if you want to put it in a poetic way, right? You are just, because no one's around and most people are asleep, right? Most people sleep now. It's 2:28 in the morning, and I've always liked this time of the day, technically, because it's quieter. I live in a city as well, so I've got literally drills going out outside my flat every single day, which are well loud. It actually annoys me in some respects, so I even like put on heavy metal music and just blast it even like really really loud, which sounds a bit passive aggressive, probably is, but it's just like just almost trying to drown out the noise of it. Anyway, back to Cioran. So he wrote his book Heights of Suffering, which is a book that found me when I was in an extremely dark place when I was about I was like 33 or something a while ago. I'm 38 now. So Heights of Suffering is a series of short essays written whilst he was in a deeply insomniac. It's a very penetrating look into it's very much philosophy of the hammer, like the continental school of Nietzsche, of course. It's worth reading. He has these fascinating essays all about like the rise and downfalls of civilization. He's a very pacey writer as well. There's a lot of venom in his work in some respects, especially towards religion. Obviously, he's a nihilist, but there's also a sort of funny contradiction in his writing as well, because he deeply studied Zen Buddhism and Eastern mystical traditions. There is a spirituality of sorts to Cioran. It's very much the optimistic nihilism, I'd say, of it's like an atheistic Zen Buddhism, basically. Sort of not self-annihilation, but just like accepting self-annihilation and the nothingness, exploring the void, and such concepts, and becoming very comfortable with emptiness and the facts of life, basically. I found drawing and art often helps with my mental health, definitely. I've been doing quite a lot of that recently, actually. Reading's good, not on a screen. The problem with screens is that it's just very bright. You need to reduce the artificial light that goes into your eyes, right? Because I'm doing that now, but after this I'll probably go read a book, like say go for a walk or something. I can be reading this in a minute. Beast in the Shadows, I'm reading a lot of things actually, but Beast in the Shadows is a mystery novel. I read that on the train quite a lot. I just bought this today, I haven't got very far with it, but that's an essay on violence by Hannah Arendt. I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. But yeah, reading's good, so reading before you sleep. Often if it's something really, really heavy, you don't have to read it with the intent to finish it right there and then, right? But that can actually be a really good idea, because you're reading like I've tried reading Schopenhauer, and that definitely helps. Because I've got one of his books, and it's heavy stuff, and it's actually I don't like his prose. It's very boring. It's like metaphysics and stuff. But yeah, anything heavy or even humorous can be good. Anything, it depends what you like, obviously, reading, right? Almost at the 20-minute mark of this now, so yeah, like set a plan for yourself, just small things every day. It's a bit like dealing with general depression, really. So try and get like 8 hours, that's the obvious thing. But then if your brain just won't shut up from worrying or neurotic thoughts, it could be also, a lot of people greatly find that writing can help. I think a lot of writers are definitely of the night owl type of personality, which is generally speaking, and intellectual, quite quiet, withdrawn, introverted, but perfectly functional person, basically. Often these lone night owls are amongst the higher tier of intelligence. They score higher on intelligence scores, but they also have this curse, if you will, of just going to bed later, and of, you know, so-called normal people, I guess. Anyway, that's 20 minutes. I hope that was useful. Yeah, enjoy your night, and I hope you get a good night's rest, as do I. Yeah, nice one.